this is the agenda we need to go through today. So first is enterprise integration overview. And the way I put enterprise here, because this is usually the missing part of integration, and we will come to see how. We will discuss what integration means for executives, how to integrate as a business leader, or talk about it, and then we will discuss some real-world use cases. We also discuss the integration architecture view, which is more of a technical view to what is integration architecture and what it's composed of. We'll see how integration can be scaled and why it's sometimes become a challenge and what challenges are facing us. And then how the future of integration in the modern world, including data, AI, cloud, and things like smart cities. We'll just see how integration fits and play a role in each of these items. While we are going, I will pause between each big topic and we'll get questions and we'll answer them as we go. And this is the first thing I want to start with. We don't need integration. We have an all-in-one platform and it handles everything. How many times have you heard this statement? This is where you go to organization and start like transformation projects, especially these days, and you get a promise that there is one application, it solves all your problems, and you don't have to worry about integration at all. Everything in one place, and the platform will do it for you. And this is where exactly integration comes as a second thought. So always, as I'm integration architect and going to the solution architect in this area, I always come late in the project. And I always hear, oh, we didn't think that we need the one earlier. But then as we go, we figured out that we need integration architect or solution architect for integration. And this is where it's very important for me, every time I go to a new place, to ask or address 3 pillars within their integration strategy. It's guiding how I'm going to work with them. It's directing the project and helping me to understand the level at which we need to speak. The first one is investment reason, why they invest in integration. So while some integration is really mature, they realize the value, others are not. And they just respond to a case that the project needs integration architects to just get someone on board. Dealing with these different mindset would be quite different. And I'm not talking only about integration architecture. You can join as a project manager for integration, or you can join as a BA for integration project. And then you need to know if this really a case of they understand what you do. Are they going to really invest and make the right decisions? Or is it more of a tactical engagement to get something done? And then the business value, how the value is articulated to the business, the sponsor, people, they pay the money, the project team, do they really understand this value? And finally, this will direct how we govern the process and how we implement something that can go off the track completely, addressing today's need, not necessarily tomorrow, or really something future-proof. But before we answer those questions, let's go back to what is really integration, which is first part of our today's session. So in a simple manner, I like to define integration as the strategic alignment of data, application, and the processes across organizations. To enhance efficiency, it's one noble cause, enhance efficiency, improve collaboration. We are talking here about maybe automation and getting people to work together, and support informed decision making. Exactly, which is we need some data, we need to build a proper decision making based on evidence and facts, etc. Until here, it's good. It's a good definition for the business. But the problem when we add through middleware using file integration APIs, and we start discussing how to design those services and just jumping on the implementation directly. So at the business level, there should be a level of maturity to look how the integration serving your needs and drive strategic decisions, and then jump into what are the project needs. If we drive every integration from a project needs, you end up having a lot of projects. They are all working in silos and they are lacking integration. So it becomes like losing its meaningful, the core meaning, the integration. It becomes missing within the organization. This will elaborate more. So by looking into the integration strategy, how connecting the data, application, and processes can be articulated in a way that organization can understand the importance of integration and how it can be used. And also emphasizing the fact that it's not a project-based. Integration is about integrating organization, not just addressing project needs. Let's start with the first item, investment reasons. And if you remember, I said this is the 3 pillars I like to address in every project or program I go. So for investment reasons, according to COBIT, and COBIT is a governance framework, and it's a great framework to align IT systems with business goals. Organization invest for one of 3 reasons. Cost optimization. Say you are running a business unit, it's costing you about $1,000 a day or something, and you want to bring this cost down. So this is one way we can convince organization to invest. Another scenario would be, or another win could be operational efficiency. And we'll get example on each actually soon. But operational efficiency where your operation might be very manual process and very slow, and then you want to bring it back to the life. Benefit realization is where you have a solution ecosystems that is quite old, for example, or it's not connected, and then it just becomes so hard to cope up with the pace of the world, and you cannot compete with your competitors. You want to launch new products to the market, and this is where you fail short. So let's take examples of that. First example, and by the way, those examples are real use cases I have seen myself into recent years, not that old. The first one is payroll. Let's say you are in your company, you are publishing or like submitting your timesheet every week or every day. And then you have someone who's looking into your timesheet and try to consolidate it every month, put it to the billing system, and then calculate based on your rate or salary, how much you should be paid every month. Manual process, simple, one single task, can be done by person, all good. But let's think you have an organization of 3,000 employees. And let's assume that each employee timesheet consolidation takes about 20 minutes. This means you need like 1,000 hours every month to submit the timesheet to the billing system, calculate the salary or rate, and then paying an invoice to your employees. And to get 1,000 hours in a month, you need like more than 6 employees. This is where you would need to do definitely integration to automate your process. This is, for example, touching on the cost optimization. You don't have to pay 1,000 hours every month. And if you just put it on the minimum wage, let's say $20 multiplied 1,000, it's like $20,000 every month just to get the timesheet for the 3,000 employees. Of course, it doesn't make sense. And you might need to establish integration with like 20,000 multiplied by year, like it's 240,000. You can build this use case for way cheaper and more efficient and reducing the cost you are paying for employees. And it's not just about their wages. You have to pay insurance, you have to get them offices, you have to get laptops. So this is a real use case where we can link the integration to a business need, and where sponsor or executives can get actually realizing the value of what they are building. It's a small case, simple, but this is where exactly integration lands too. To get a quick win, you need to define a proper use case, you need to deliver it fast, and then show one of these 3 elements. Second example, e-commerce. When we talk about integration, we said integration is connecting your data, application, processes. Of course, you need to connect at least 2 systems. It cannot be less. And it's not only about connecting systems in the backend. Let's think about e-commerce solution. When you go to Amazon, the first page is to list all the product. So getting all the product from the system, which store all the product, is integration. Then you need to get the price of each product, which could be stored in the same system or in different system, pricing system. And then you need to check your inventory. Do you have more of this product? Can you offer it? Can you sell it? Yes or no? It depends on. This is another one for integration. And then another case, let's say you did everything and the customer is trying to buy the product now and make a purchase, and this is where you need to pay to make a payment. So how would you do the payment? Again, another integration. So in this example, we say that the e-commerce, and it's from name, it's electronic, it's digital, it's not even possible. It's not about cost optimization here. It's not about operational efficiency. It's not even possible that to build the e-commerce solution without building a lot of back-end integration. Well, we can connect or link the whole idea of e-commerce to cost optimization and operational efficiency from the fact that you don't need a retail store, you will go digital, so you don't have to serve customer on the premise or something. Yeah, that's fine. But the e-commerce idea as a whole, and so many people are running e-commerce now, it's completely based on integration. And this is one fact I call it benefit realization. I'm trying to realize a new benefit. Some other examples could be if you want to launch a new product, and to launch this product, it needs to personalize the experience for your customers. For example, to be able to do a personalized experience, you need to connect a lot of data from different systems. Hence, you can do benefit realization or realize a new value, new product, and make a growth. Another interesting example, and this will continue with us for a bit while, it's attendance. And this was a very interesting case I have seen recently, maybe a couple of years back. Some countries obligate the schools to submit a daily attendance and weekly and monthly for all their students. Ministry of Education enforce people to submit this attendance and gets reviewed, and it becomes like a legal and compliance each school has to commit to. So we'll talk about this a lot, but then this one use case where we managed to build an integration for Ministry of Education as a proof of concept only with one school. The cost they saved out of a single school automation was like 250,000 a year. So basically what was the process? They were, every time you submit attendance, someone is collecting this attendance on a daily basis. But unfortunately, not all attendance come on a daily basis. And some of them are getting weekly, and then they are getting manually collected together from the sheets, Excel sheets, and some of them even on paper. And they are getting consolidated into Excel sheet, writing it all. Someone has to review it, and then it gets submitted. Every month, they have to do the same process again to ensure nothing was missing, and it's getting reviewed again monthly and submitted again to the Ministry of Education. So the Ministry of Education approached it saying, we need to build automation. We need to get the system, once the student submit the attendance in the school, it's automatically applied to us. Well, this could be possible or not based on does the school even have a system or not. But even the school doesn't, the way they communicate that through emails and files was really painful and wasted a lot of human hours. Saving human hours saved them like 250,000 a year. This is for a government, it's a large number. And this is where also it goes here beyond saving 250,000. It goes to how do you meet your legal compliance? How as a school don't get fined or getting a withhold on your fundings just because you are not meeting those obligations. So there are three examples to show how integration can actually get linked to a business value from a cost optimization, operational efficiency, benefit realization. How can they get articulated to executives in a way to say the integration is beyond developing an API, for example, to list customers on the screen. And this is exactly where the architecture team, the business leaders need to put an effort to articulate the right value. And then it becomes easy for the project team to hire the right people in place. Otherwise, what happens is the project needs an integration. It goes tactical, it goes in rush. We get a developer, we build a solution that is not scalable, not reliable, not future-proof. And I will discuss all these elements later in the session as well. Okay, so this was the investment reasons. You remember, again, we were discussing the three pillars we need to address for integration strategy. And this is to help us to understand how mature is the organization, what is the readiness for the organization to go into integration journey. And you will be surprised, very large organizations, they are actually providing professional services to others on integration. They lack integration strategy and not quite well known for them. So the second part is here is the business value. Once we have this value articulated, we understand it, we know what's going on here, what is the problem we are solving. It's really important to get this cascaded across all layers. You need to make sure that executive understand it, you need to understand the sponsor understand it, and the project team understand it. And by the way, this is not just for integration, it's for everything. Like if we talk about AI now, it's the same thing, the same applies. But the problem is those elements usually addressed on the program level or very high level, but they are getting missed in details. And last thing is to establish a proper governance, if not exist. So sometimes you get a governance in place that you need to follow. Sometimes nothing is exist, and then you need to find what are the proper governance you need to establish. And this all directed by how much the organization is keen to invest into the integration. And why it's expensive, because if organization really understand what does it mean to build a future-proof integration strategy and to leverage reusability and scalability, and this is what we call a scale of economy, that we build something once, but we keep reusing and leverage, maximize its value a lot, then they will allow you to put the right principles in place, guidelines, and drive future-proof solutions. But again, if it's driven by project or by developers, it's where things get very tactical and get lost. So what strategies we might follow to get the organization to think beyond a project? How do we get them to think enterprise and properly build something? Number one, you need to have a plan. You as a person who's going to raise a concern, the person who's going to change directions or try to influence, you need to have a plan. You need to understand what this organization lose. My approach is a bit bold. I like to question things and highlight the loss. So I'm saying, for example, what is your governance here? What is your principles and architecture guidelines? And you might find some or might not. And this is where, okay, what is a project is trying to achieve? So the project is achieving XYZ. Okay, so So this means you are approaching or like putting like $50,000 or $100,000 in a project to address these needs. What if we can build it in a way that you can save the same amount of money from the next project? So let's say now it's a 100,000, but then you are building assets that could be really reusable, but some are not. So let's say 80,000 of them might be reused toward next project. But then they will question how, right? Because they don't know. So the thing is, if you really understand the business use case, if you understand the organization, then you make difference. Let's take attendance as example. When we were building this use case, it came to mind that, okay, this Ministry of Education is not necessarily approaching one school to submit attendance. They would need to roll it across all the schools. So this is an opportunity to bring now to say, if we did this approach, pros and cons, always pros and cons in architecture and those kind of discussions, then if we do this one, yes, we will get it done fast. It's a cost saving us like $10,000 and it's addressing the project needs and we are good. Just put a little bit more, $10,000, and I will save you $50,000 from the next project. So this could be one way of directly, again, you need to translate it to one of three elements. Cost optimization, it's what I've explained. Second, operational efficiency or benefit realization. This is what you need to approach. And you cannot go direct to the business leader. You probably need to talk to architects around you. You need to talk to the project team. You need to get them on board first. And then you build a coalition, as we say, to sing the same song, basically say, we have an opportunity here. We have reusability opportunity, and those use cases can be leveraged into our neighbors here, and also require awareness with the project landscape, the organization landscape, what projects are going on, what are their priorities, what's coming next, and how we can build assets out of it to fit in there. And once you start question about those things, how do you plan to do this? How do you plan to that project? What is the link between these two projects? And you start to ask those questions. Immediately, they have open eyes. They are keen to listen and they are willing to help. Not necessarily they will change direction, just to be fair. Many times that projects are quite delivery driven. It has a very hard budget and it's hard to change. But in so many times, I managed to change direction a little bit. And sometimes I change it in the first phase in the project, but then the bigger impact become in the second phase of the project. So it's a gradual influence through questions, bold, etc. If you are a master system integrator and you are required to build solutions for customers who don't have robust business processes, is it necessary for the MSI to step in and engage on building business processes so that it can be compatible with the solution? Again, another great question. Usually the system integrator companies and / consultant companies, they love the fact that they get in and don't get out. So once they jump onto the project, their plan is not the project. They want to build strategic relationship with those partners. And this is where, if they have the capability to highlight the gap and identify the business processes, then definitely yes. But you also need to balance between when can you do it. So if the organization, basically, you need to set yourself up for success. If organization has enterprise architecture that lack business architecture function and they are ready to modernize, they understand your language, it's just they don't have it, they are keen to help you and you help them to build those business processes, identify to build the integration, then definitely yes. Of course, I would highly encourage to define the business processes. And even more, you can go beyond the business processes to modernize it, not just define what's current state. You can even go more and say, okay, what if we did this and that? Then do we improve customer experience here, etc. But then if the organization doesn't really care, or like if they don't have enterprise function at all, and you don't need to set up yourself for failure, you cannot hit your head in the wall, right? So you need to be careful that you have delivery, you need to succeed in your delivery, and maybe you can change it later, but not at the beginning. So if you spend like all the money assigned to your partner to deliver integration onto business processes and you fail to deliver the integration, then you will be kicked out and you deliver nothing. So it's very important to bring this balance.